Hi friends, I'm Luke from TETready.com and we're here to help you study for this new TOEFL Essentials test. This video is all about the virtual interview, basically the real speaking question on the TOEFL Essentials test, and it looks something like this. So as I mentioned, this is the main speaking task on the TOEFL Essentials test. It's basically a simulated and pre-recorded interview, and it's presented in video form, so it has the feeling of a real online interview. I think this is the most innovative question on the TOEFL Essentials test. You're given a topic and then the interviewer asks you 5 questions related to that topic. In this video, we're going to talk about the key points of this task to help you get a better understanding of what you've got to do. And then at the end, I prepared a sample interview for you and I'll show you sample answers. I think this will be great practice for you, so I hope this is helpful. But very quickly, before we get into the key points, if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Luke from TETready.com. And if you like this kind of video, give it a big thumbs up and write yes below in the comments. Doing those 2 things really does help me a lot. Okay then, well let's start by looking at the key points of this task on the TOEFL Essentials test. Okay, so like I mentioned, your job is basically to participate in a simulated conversation with a pre-recorded interviewer. And you have to answer 5 questions that are related to the interview topic. These questions will ask you to describe your experiences and opinions. So the topics, I guess, are going to be very similar to the IPT, the Duolingo, or the IELTS test. Very general topics. On the practice test, they were about music, studying abroad, and technology. Very, very common topics. But when I did the practice tests, I did notice something interesting when it comes to the ordering of questions. So let me show you that here now. So the questions on the interview seem to go from personal experiences to your opinion on broader topics. Basically, I think it's much easier to talk about your personal experiences than it is to talk about broader issues of that topic. So the questions go from easy to difficult. And here were the order of questions on one of the practice tests. This topic was about technology. So if you look at the first 2 questions, they are quite simple and they talk about your experiences with this technology. And then the last question has more broader implications. It's not about your experience, rather it's about your opinion. So you have to agree or disagree with this kind of controversial statement. And the statement was that some parents think that children spend too much time using technology. So based on the practice test, it seems like this is going to be the order of the questions. The first couple will be about your personal experiences, and then the later questions will be about your opinions on broader society issues, of course based on the topic. Actually, this follows a very similar format to the IELTS speaking test as well. So I think it's quite a standard approach. And of course it makes sense, going from easy to difficult. So now let's take a look at some of the other key points. So again, based on the practice tests which are available to us, it looks like you'll have between 30 and 45 seconds to answer a question. I guess it depends on how easy the question is. And you will only get this once on the test, but remember you do have 5 questions to answer. I am basing all of these key points on the practice test, so it might change once the real test launches. But for now, these are the key points. Okay, the criteria. Now I looked on the ETS website and I couldn't find the criteria, but we can guess. So the first point is usually content. Do you actually answer the question you've been asked? And then do you develop your ideas fully? When it comes to developing your ideas, what we mean is, do you give your opinion or do you answer the question? And then do you go further? Do you give an example or a reason? Anything to support your original opinion? That's what we mean by developing your answer. Okay, there are other points like fluency. Are you able to answer the question smoothly and easily without much hesitation? Pronunciation. Is your pronunciation intelligible? And grammatical accuracy and complexity. Do you use a range of accurate sentences and some complicated ones? And then lastly, vocabulary. Do you use topic-related vocabulary? And do you use vocabulary correctly? And of course, this contributes to your speaking score. So those were the key points of this virtual interview task. I think it's obvious that this task will be heavily weighted, which means that if you do well in it, then you're likely to get a good score in the speaking part. It seems to be the main speaking task on this TOEFL Essentials test. So those were the key points. Now let's get into the practice. I've made a full sample interview for you, so one interview with 5 questions. I will give you an appropriate time, and I'll try to make it very similar to the real TOEFL test. At the end of the whole interview, I'll show you some model answers. That way you can compare your answers with the model ones. Okay, we will get to this in a second, but I want to ask you a huge favor. If you think this type of video is helpful, don't forget to write yes below in the comments. Okay then, well, let's get to the practice.
A health and nutrition department at a university is doing research on people's experience with living a healthy life. You have agreed to be asked some questions by a researcher. The researcher will now ask you some questions.
Do you think health is important?
Of course, our health is extremely important. Without our health, we are unable to work, make a living, or socialize. On top of that, without having good health, we would be completely dependent on others for all aspects of our lives. I believe that everyone needs to make an effort to stay as healthy as possible for as long as they can.
Describe something healthy that you enjoy doing. What is it? Why do you enjoy it?
Exercise and good nutrition are hugely important in maintaining good health. But for me, playing sports is definitely my favorite way to stay healthy. My favorite sport is football. I've played football since I was at school, actually almost every day. It's a great form of aerobic exercise and helps you to lose weight easily. I'm sure I wouldn't be as healthy as I am now without playing football.
What part of your lifestyle would you most like to make healthier?
That's a hard question. Actually, every year I make a resolution to adopt healthier eating habits and go to bed earlier. I always make these resolutions because I want to be fitter and more productive at work. But I always fail. I really should try to go to bed before midnight and eat better food with more fiber and natural vitamins. Hopefully, I'll be able to do these 2 things soon.
How can individuals take more responsibility for their own health?
For me, this links back to education, which should really start at school and then continue throughout one's life. The more we look after ourselves and make the correct decisions surrounding food, health, exercise, and so on, the less healthcare we might need in the future. I think individuals need to take more responsibility for their own health and understand that once you lose your health, it's very hard to get it back. Basically, I think it's up to the individual to learn about how to maintain good health and then to take action.
Could governments do more to promote healthier lifestyle options?
Yes, in my opinion, the government has a big responsibility to promote healthier living, especially for younger children and teenagers. To begin with, providing more education in schools on how to eat more healthily and show the importance of physical exercise would be very beneficial. For example, offering lessons on the negative effects of instant food, such as obesity, could discourage teenagers from eating it, since most teenagers are concerned with their looks and appearance. Another important thing is to offer better school lunches. If students get used to eating healthy food in school, they'll probably want to eat healthier food at home as well.
And that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful. If you want more practice on some different question types on the TOEFL Essentials Test, I recommend watching this video here or this one here. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.